Hey YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and I'm here with a pedal board update. I built my third pedal board that's in this style. This one I painted, and I haven't attached the pedals to it yet because I'm building one of those, and those parts haven't arrived. They should be here in just a couple of days. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll real quickly show you guys exactly how I do this. So it's made from scrap wood that I obtain from dumpster diving from an industrial park that's down the way. And I try to gather those scraps, and then if I can not cut, like, this isn't really the ideal length, but I could have cut it to make it a little less that way, taller is it? I could have, but in that case I won't. It's like, let's try to get it where we only have to do one cut per piece of wood. And then I like to sand the stuff, and I like to countersink the screws. I don't do it right. This is all done with a very minimal of skill or training. So this here is a curved piece. It's like a trim piece, and that serves as a little like base. So this pedal here is going to use zip ties to fasten. Zip ties are going to be the fastener, and this is going to be an overdrive pedal board, overdrive / distortion. It does have a battery pack. The only thing is this pedal is not going to be on here. We're going to have another 1590 BB, which is this size of box. We're going to have another pedal. Whew, they're all falling. We're going to have another 1590 BB that's white. That's going to go over here. And this is it's a light 'em up. It's a light 'em up jack. Is there one of those battery packs over there?
It's like a 18650, buddy.
Yeah, sure. Meaning, oh, you have to have it plugged in. Yeah, the ring is lit up dimly. When it's bypassed, it's lit up a little bit, and then when you engage it, it comes on brighter. So what I'm going to do is the first pedal on the board is going to have 3 circuits in it, and that's going to be a buffer, and a buffer is you could think of it as just enough boost, like 3 decibels, like just a little bit of active boost to compensate for your cable and the connection, the loss of signal that you'll experience, because you're going to be using some connectors and some cables to go to the amp. Meaning if you plug your guitar in through a bunch of true bypass pedals and go right into the amp then without a buffer, and then you bypass all that and just plug your guitar straight in with one cable, your guitar is going to sound really good with just the one cable, and it's going to sound dull and with a lack of treble because you lose signal. It's almost going to be like you turn the tone knob all the way down. Your guitar is just going to sound bad without a buffer. So what ideally as guitar players, we're going to want to have a buffer maybe on the input of our pedal board, and then maybe another one on the output if you need it. But one is typically enough on the input. So the other white pedal that's going to go over here is going to have blue colored light 'em up stomp switches. There's going to be two, one on each side. It's going to have a buffer on the input that is non-bypassable. So if you turn, there's going to be a total of three, but really one of them's the buffer and we don't really count that. So there's going to be two effects inside the first pedal. One being a zvex show. SHO is what that circuit is called. And the other one is going to be a love pedal, clock of tone, church of tone, COT 50 is what it's called. And both of those circuits are going to be two knob. Like a lot of time when you see these, they're just one knob. Well, I'm going to be adding volume controls to each circuit. And I was going to do, like I was going to just do one master volume and have a three knob pedal. And then it would be like, it would be really, what do you call it? And I may still do that. I don't know. I may do that. That might be a really smart thing to do, is to make it really look, rather than having four knobs over here. So we got to see how it goes. But like I said, this pedal here, it's a show with a buffer. It just doesn't have the COT 50 in here. And this pedal board, I use this in conjunction with my NUX MG30, which is a multi-effector that has a send and return on it. Hey, honey, would you be so kind and hand me over my other pedal board? So this is not my first rodeo. Like I said, I've made 3 of these. This is the second one. This is the same idea. It's a little bit more compact. It doesn't have a carry handle. So the components of this type of pedal board that I make consists of a few things, and let's go over those. First off, there's 3 18650 lithium-ion batteries. These are 4.2 volt batteries. So the 3 of them, it comes up to around 12 and a half volts. There'll be a power switch here. Turn it on. Yeah, it's hard to see but the lights are going on. On the underside of it here, there is duct tape, which that's really unsightly, but it's holding in a bag of extra fuses. So if I do blow a fuse, I've got an extra. And this is where the fuse lives. If it's anything over 9 volts, I'll tend to put a fuse on it. So I believe it's a 1 amp fuse is what's in there. It's a 5mm fuse. And this is a little, you pop this lid off to access the fuse. And then this circuit here is what's known as an LM2596 voltage regulator. And you can see that that blue spot on it has a little brass thumb screw trimmer. So when you're finished building this, you connect your meter, your multimeter, to one of the power plugs. Connect it to this, and then you turn it on and you get a little jeweler's screwdriver, and then you adjust this screw, because this LM2596 is what's called a step down transformer, or a buck. It can go either way, up or down. So what you're looking for is 9.00 volts or 9.60, whatever you like to run your pedals at. I like to run them at 9 volts. So it's the battery pack, and I drill, these plastic sleds are like about $1. Oh shit, I should have ordered some of those. I just made a Tata order and I forgot to grab some of these. And then you wire these up themselves. They don't come wired, so you have to figure out how to wire them. And then what I like to do is use some nail varnish. See that red marker there, and then there's green here, and those are demarcation lines for the polarity, how to install the batteries. So you wire these up. You can see I've got little wiring going on here. And then there's a hole drilled through the board where the wire comes through, runs over. It looks like I soldered all of the power wires directly to the output of the voltage regulator board. Now on this one, I did it a little differently, and this stuff's just going to go flying. Let me get these off of here. This one has a little carry handle. See, deep, 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 deep. I'm going to market. So this one here has a piece of strip board here at the top. That tan piece, that is strip board, which has holes in it in a strip. And if you flip it over, there's copper rows. So in this case, it's 2 rows, and I soldered the positive and negative wires coming off of the voltage regulator, so my 9-volt power supply plugs into those 2 strips. And then each one of these connectors solders in at points going along the... So they each have their own individual solder point. It's not like they're all banged on top of each other, which, I mean, it's on this other one where I did it direct, when they're all are soldered directly to the voltage regulator board, there's 3 on each pad, and the pads are pretty big. And I took my time and I did it neatly, and it's held up so far. So it's just basically apples and oranges, and more than likely what I'll do on this, these wires are flapping around here. I don't like that. So I have a choice to make. Do I slap tape on the bottom of this? I really don't like working with tape. I really don't. I don't use electrical tape on my projects. As you can see here, this is heat shrink tubing on this side, and then there's blue heat shrink over here. Not really color matching, but it's not electrical tape. And the reason I don't like electrical tape is that I don't like gloop or gunk or glue on my fingers. I don't like that. It's nothing infuriates me, right?
Yeah.
When I get some sticky shit in between my fingers, I'm going to get some solvent. And we literally bring with, we have some like 70 alcohol with us in our personal bag, is what it's called. It has like Band-Aid, soap, an EpiPen, just different things that you might need when you're on a remote, when we're playing outdoors. Because my wife and I make music outdoors in remote locations because we live in an apartment. So we built ourselves a PA system that we play through, and that's what these battery-powered pedal boards are all about. So this particular one, I just finished this tonight. I started working on it yesterday. I will have to run the zip ties. So like for this one, I have one slot here. And what I'll do is I'll put a zip tie in here and run it around, and it'll just hold the pedal down. And I could have moved it over a little bit and made another slot, but I'm just gonna run the zip tie around the side like this. Just do it that way, and it's a little bit less work. So this is how I choose to do it. It isn't the smart way. I'm not saying I'm brilliant or I'm an electronics genius. None of that. This is me scraping by the bottom of the barrel to make something that costs next to nothing, that will give me an opportunity to play through some different pedals. Basically, I'm really happy with this, which is an EP Boost, the old Echoplex preamp. It's a tube preamp. This is I think it's a JFET in here, and it has a high and low, like bass and treble switches, and it's a significant, like you can hear it. The stock circuit is not so much. This is modified, And the stock circuit, if you buy this pedal, those switches are on the inside. You have to take it apart to access them. I have them on the front of it. This is it's called a Benson preamp, and this really changes the tone of the guitar. Now, you may really like that. You may think, oh, this makes it sound like a tube amp, or it warms it up. Whatever the case may be, it's changing the sound of the guitar enough to piss me off. This is a Rev G3, this is a wonderful distortion. And it's got some switching, bass, mid-range, treble, volume, and gain, and then switching, which basically turns the fuzz. You know, when a distortion, it's like, it turns that off. You can have red or blue. It's called anger on the pedal, and it's different levels of that. It's kind of subtle. I run it off. I'm using this in conjunction with an amp modeler. But yeah, that's the pedal board that I just built. As far as the zvex show, I built this. This drummer I used to work with, he was telling me about his show that this other guy, Ron Kuchen, who played Robert Fripp GR300 guitar synth lead solo on my second album on a song, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, that guy Ron Kuchen was something else, and he turned Dave, the drummer, onto this pedal, the zvex show. And Dave came over here and was telling me, oh, I don't know, it's got a Neve chip in it, is what he said. And I know that it's a BS170 transistor. There is no chip in a zvex show. I'm fairly well familiar with that stuff. So I ended up building one. And I could not believe how this is like one of the greatest pedals. It's bright. So if you don't like bright, you wouldn't like. And this is more of like for like a single coil clean thing, like Strat. You know, that's where it's gonna. Like, I built it to compensate in between if I'm playing a humbucker guitar and then I want to play a single coil guitar. This would be set at like not noon, but less than noon, and not a quarter of the way. But anyway, yeah, and this does a job for that. Once you get it up closer to noon, though, it starts doing something to the sound besides just boosting it. And the more you go, the more that you get. And it's a significant, bright thing. It's a very pleasing kind of slight breakup that, man, is it desirable. Now, the other circuit, I told you I was going to build this pedal that has a buffer. It's going to have two of the switches. This one has the light 'em up, click clack. I'm going to have two light 'em up, click clacks, but they're going to be blue. And that's just, you know, this is blue, so it's supposed to look nice, this one. And the Cot 50 Church of Tone, Clock of Tone, whatever you want to call it, it's a Love pedal. That's the name of the company. And Love Pedal is famous for building a real lot, putting out all these pedals that are all based on the same circuit. Okay? And they just adjust it just a little bit. They change a couple parts and they'll go, oh, this replicates the Fender Blackface amplifier. But it's the same thing that they've always been releasing. It's an Electra distortion. Now, I had an Electra distortion when I was a kid. It was gifted to me. And I remember tolerating it. But the Clock of Tone, Church of Tone, has got to be, it's like the best circuit. I got to tell you, if you're a guitar guy, you're a pedal guy, and you haven't built a Cot 50. Now, this isn't a metal master. This isn't a shred master. This isn't like, you know, sustain, like super distortion. It's more leaning towards clean. Like the first time that I played through a COT 50, I started immediately playing AC/DC. It's that sound, which is a Gibson SG guitar through a cranked Marshall. That's what that sound is. If that sounds like something interesting to you, build yourself a COT 50. It really is something. And I'm thinking, like I went through this thing. It was like, I was like, I'm going to build myself some COT 50s. Like I'm going to build 2 of them. Because they're so good, I know I'll need 2 of them. And I got distracted and I built 2 Hale Rust drivers, which is a similar thing. And people that know about the Hale Rust driver, it's cheaper and it's got more gain. So I thought, oh, well, that's right up my alley. And I'll tell you, if you do build yourself a Hale Rust driver, it's HAO, Hale. You should put a master volume on it. Because the way it is, it's it's just like a gain knob and it gets up really loud. So if you want to use that gain, but you don't want it to blow your doors off, master volume. Now, the bad thing, I think it's a BJT or is it a mu amp? Whatever, and forgive me for not knowing, the design on these circuits, both, I believe the COT 50 and the zvex show, is a design that when you turn the gain pot, it crackles. It makes a crackle sound. So that's enough to ruin it, and that's why I stayed away from the zvex show. I'm like, I'm not building a pedal that's going to crackle. That's, I'd be out performing in front of people, and I turn this thing, and it's like, oh, he built that stuff, but did you hear it? What are we on, Gilligan's Island? With this crackling. So that's a thing with me where I mentally rejected it, and then later on I found out, how good this circuit really is. So forgive me for going so long. This is like 20 plus minutes. I just wanted to tell you how great the COT 50 is. Like there's people out there that I know who build pedals, and they might even lean towards low parts count circuits because they're, and I don't blame you. There's people out there that they've built a bunch of pedals, but the majority of the circuits are distortion, overdrive, and fuzz because those are the simplest circuits to build. And when I say that, that's not a jab at anybody. This stuff is hard. It's hard. And when you build something, it almost always doesn't work right away. Usually there's something that you need to address and troubleshoot. And if it's something fancy, like a modulation effect or a delay, an echo box or a flanger, it's not so much fun. That being said, I know guys who, they might specialize in germanium, where I don't know if they ever built a zvex show or a Clockatone 50 and realized how unbelievable, great these are. Like if you were going to build yourself an amplifier and have a built-in distortion on it, this is what I would do. I would have a COT 50 and build an EQ. Build an EQ, have switchable, so you could have either the show for the bright switch or the COT 50 or both, and that would be your built-in distortion. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I can't tell you how much that COT 50 is just a great, it's on another level of tonality. It's better than any Boss distortion I ever played through. Like this distortion that this thing provides, it's not a gain machine. It's not a high gain thing. But as I get older, I'm maturing, and I'm liking position 4, position 2 on my Strat. I'm liking those sounds. I'm liking boosted and lightly overdriven sounds. And I don't like pedals that, if I've got it on 4 or 2 and it's got that quacky, spanky, bell-like Strat thing, and then I click an overdrive on and that goes away, I'm not using that pedal anymore. Now I understand what tone snobbery is about. I didn't so much before. And it's a real thing. So, all right, you guys. Thanks for taking a look at my new pedal board. I will be back with more on that soon. I'll just say that we played out this weekend, and I played through this, and I was using just the EP booster and patches that I had made on my new XMG30, which was a Vox amp model, and then some reverb and delay. And the tone I was getting was the best guitar tone I've ever had in my life. No questions asked. It was just, it sounded like, I couldn't believe how good it sounded. So that's kind of an eye-opening thing for me. You know, but it also, it's like, then you have to write in that within those parameters. You know, because when I have a high gain sound, I'm going to write differently. So life may all be about balance after all. Anyway, you guys take care of yourselves. Try to stay cool, stay warm. Hug your pets. Give them a treat from Petey, and peace.